Welcome to STCU, the Tri-City Regional Chamber of Commerce's series to help business leaders grow their companies with practical advice and answers that you can implement right away. And a special welcome to those that are watching remotely on Zoom, as you're a valuable part of our audience today, and also hello to those that are watching the recording on YouTube. My name is Paul Casey, and I do leadership and team development at Growing Forward Services, and I'm the Executive Director of Leadership Tri-Cities. And I'm privileged to be your facilitator today. This is the free benefit of your chamber membership, and it couldn't be possible without the generous sponsorship of STCU. With us today is Jessica. Jessica, come on up here. Welcome to the group today.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jessica Crudup, and I'm part of the community relations team at STCU. Today's topic, dynamic digital marketing, will be an intriguing one. I don't know about you, but digital marketing evolves much faster than I can keep up with, which is why I'm looking forward to hearing from our experts out there sharing with us today. At STCU, it is our goal to enhance the lives of our individual and business members by working with Tri-Cities Regional Chamber to bring you Ask the Experts. Thank you, everyone that is here in person and virtually, and I hope you leave here with some valuable information and great ideas.
Thank you. Let's give a hand. We are grateful for your support of Ask the Experts. So how this is going to go down today, for approximately half of our 90 minutes together, our experts will be presenting their gold nuggets on our topic of dynamic digital marketing. And for the second half, they will answer your questions. If you'd like to ask a question, we would encourage everyone, by the way, to think of one question to ask, even if you're an introvert. I'm giving you a warning to think of a question, and whether you're on virtual or here in the room. You can either text me at this number, 519-392-1895. You want to write that down, or just open a text right now and get ready. That keeps it anonymous, and then I can curate the questions. If you're here in the room, though, feel free to raise your hand when we get to the Q&A period of time, or just type that into the chat. I'll vet those, feed those to the experts, and we'll get to as many as we can in our time today. And they will also have their contact information. I think, did you all put it in your slides?
Yes.
Okay, their contact information, so be sure you get that down or see them afterward. They probably have a business card handy. So let me introduce our speakers today. Jerrod Lindblom is the VP of Marketing and Sales at Underground Creative, where he's one of 3 partners. He started his career in auto sales, then spent time in radio marketing with Town Square Media and Cherry Creek Radio. Then moved into digital marketing as an account executive with Spectrum Reach. After many years serving major clients all over the region, Jerrod partnered with 2 other media professionals to form Underground, with the goal of offering industry-leading services that don't break the bank. When Jerrod isn't at the office or holed up with his nose in his laptop, you can also find him singing with his local church worship team or cheering his children on at their school events. Welcome, Jerrod. Torey, it says T-Man on the website, so he must be affectionately called T-Man. Torey found BrandCraft in 2012, an artist at heart with an entrepreneurial spirit. Torey's background winds through science and engineering. He's actually a registered civil engineer, until he decided to chase his true passion, which is marketing. After short stints away, the Tri-Cities area lured him back to plant roots and put up shop. Free time consists of golf, coaching, beer tasting, 12-ounce tasters, and photography. Let's welcome Torey. And Laurie Rivera in the middle is a senior designer with Spotted Fox Digital Marketing, also known as Lightning Laurie. She is known for her efficiency and ability to create high-quality deliverables lickety-split. As a self-taught digital marketer, Laurie has over 7 years of experience in marketing strategy, website development, SEO, and graphic design. Outside of work, Laurie volunteers with Seroptimist International of Pasco, Kennewick, providing local girls and women in the community with the educational opportunities they need to achieve economic empowerment. She currently serves as the district secretary and immediate past president. Let's welcome Laurie. All right, get your notepads ready to rock and roll. We're going to have some great stuff today, and let's start with Torey.
Thank you, Paul. I'm going to try and sync up my 2 presentations here because I have a little extra paper bid there. Laurie, I do like your last name, but Dragon Check was awesome. I missed that one. Yeah. Paul mentioned being an introvert, as some of you might be. I call myself an introverted leader. I do not get my energy from this or from talking to people. But I've had to become good at it because that's what you do in the marketing. It's really important. So maybe I'll give some hope to you guys out there that this can be done and you can get up in front of people. With that, I thought what I would start with is really talking about brand for this. About how brand is important, how brand comes into digital marketing and how you can remain consistent and also find your voice in a very complex world. I think brand helps with that. I won't be talking about look, identity. I won't be talking about logos to speak of. We're really talking about messaging. And I've got some important examples to share with you. So let's see, make sure the clicker works. So why brand? And what exactly is dynamic? In the world of marketing really has never been more dynamic. There's opportunity everywhere right now. Honestly, there is. There's varied audiences. You guys can find an audience. The platforms are out there. The platforms are changing. That's a problem, right? It's exciting and it's great to get out there, but it's a problem. There's more creators. Creators now are brands themselves. It's great. One constant in all of this is brand. And it can be your constant too. And so that's why it's so important and why I think we should talk about it. The opportunity and risk. So as a brand, you've never had more of a chance to reach your audience than you do today. There also has never existed a time where you can invest much effort into something that produces nothing. And maybe some of you guys have done that. It's terrible when that happens. We put effort into something, we try, we put it out there, there's no response, nothing really happens. We don't get a following, we don't get leads, whatever we're looking for, it just doesn't happen. So why is that? So you're fighting for attention in a competitive world of attention seeking. How can we win? So being on brand is really about being your authentic self. In the next few slides, I'll talk about you personally, mix that into me, mix it into brand. When I'm talking, I want you to think about why am I giving these examples and how does it apply to a brand? And think about yourself. Sometimes I think if we personify things, it's sometimes easier to understand. So many people believe, and maybe too many people believe, the art of defining brands, especially when it comes to small business, which a lot of you guys work for, involves making your brand something it's not by creating a persona that will attract more people. So something's not working, I'm not getting customers, I don't know what's happening, but what I need to do is create something that everyone's going to be attracted to. And I'll write a bunch of things down and this will be it. And the problem with that is, if it doesn't work, what are you going to do? You're going to scratch it all. You're going to go back and you're going to recreate something new, right? It's almost like you're creating campaigns every time you go out with a message or whatever doesn't work, let me fix it all. Let me go write new things and see if that works. Okay. So maybe the truth is you really just haven't found the authentic brand that's really underneath either you or your company. So some brands manage to be unique. This is great. If you can be unique, which is defined as recognizably different in nature from something else of a similar type, this is when you spend the less on marketing. So we'll talk about ad spend later, and we'll talk about channels, we'll talk about all those things. But if you can manage to be completely unique in a marketplace, you have to spend significantly less than your competitors, way less. People recommend you, people know who you are, they see you, they don't forget you, and you've probably made them feel a certain way. And if you make people feel a certain way, they're never going to forget it. Every brand, though, should be distinct. So if I went around the room and asked who you work for, what your company is, and we looked at that, not every brand is going to be unique. If we look at, I don't know, what's an example of there's a lot of what in the Tri-State, let's say like a construction company or HVAC or home services, right? If you're a roofing company, let's start with. How unique can you be when you roof? Maybe you use a special type of roofing, whatever it may be, but there's a collection of roofers that are ultimately going to do the same thing. They're going to roof your house, so you got to decide what's my brand. What am I going to be? And you can still be distinct. You can't necessarily be unique, but you always can be distinct. You can always do something different. You can serve people differently. You can talk about yourself differently, but you have to live it and it has to be authentic. This is the sweet spot of marketing. I call it the sweet spot because you can't strive for unique. You can, I think you should always strive to be as unique as you can, but you're probably going to land in the big category. And what you don't want to be is ubiquitous or omnipresent. I didn't change it, or omnipresent. I like the word ubiquitous better, so I changed it, but that's existing or being everywhere at the same time or widely or constantly encountered as common and widespread. This is what we see all the time in marketing, especially when it comes to local markets, especially when it comes to messaging that you hear a lot on TV and radio and even on digital marketing. It's the same thing over and over again. This is where you spend the most money. Now you got, and now all your ad spend has to go to brand, has to go to your logo, it has to go to that, and that's what people are remembering. They're not really hearing your message. All right, so about me, I'm 5'11", I'm male, I put that on there, wear a collared shirt, I live in Kennewick, I grew up in the Tri-Cities, I'm a WSU grad, high school diploma, shop at Fred Meyer, I drive a great car, I like to travel, I listen to country music, enjoy coffee in the morning, I have pets. So if I said that to me, that's my brand. How many of me are there in the Tri-Cities? 1,000, 2,000, there's thousands probably, right? There's thousands, so I'm in a group of people. I might be somewhat distinct, but I'm certainly not unique. And I might not even be distinct. I might just be ubiquitous. There's me all over. So instead, what if I said, I want to tell you guys about me. I'm a very direct communicator. I love to speak about brand and leadership. I often try and remove emotions from decision making. I'm serious. People seem to trust me, good or bad. I wear black a lot. I'm not driven by my desire to win. I really hate losing though. I talk fast. I'm an introverted leader. I told you guys that. I laugh. I wouldn't consider myself a ton of fun. I have leveraged my ADD and perfection traits to help deliver quality outcomes for clients. I am a member of the Turtle Mountain Band of Chippewa Indians. I'm the third of 4 siblings. I enjoy driving machines of any kind, water, road, anywhere. I hate warm fruit. All right. So I don't know how many of those there are in the Tri-Cities, but I bet you there's just one. And then now if you take that and you look at me and you say, oh yeah, that dude always wears black. Like I can't figure out what's going on there. And it's true, but you won't forget. You'll keep seeing it. You'll hear this story. If I tell you the story again, you're going to remember it even more, right? Now we start to develop a brand. People start to understand me. Now, again, remember, how does that compare to a brand, a consumer brand or a commercial brand, right? How can you be more specific and more authentic in how you describe yourself? How many companies honestly use lists like this to describe themselves, right? It's like, who cares? Who cares? I'm worried about your brand if you rely on messaging like this. Great customer service, we're locally owned. We have combined X years of experience. We put the work in, we're prompt, we have quality, service with a smile. We do this so you don't have to. 100% satisfaction, we treat you like family. We have integrity, we have trust, and we exceed expectations. I mean, honestly, you guys kill me now when you see this, right? Like everybody says this, like you don't actually hear it. When you hear this on the radio or you hear this or you see it, you don't actually hear it. It's just another ad. It's just another something that's on. Really what you might remember is a great logo that can help you in this situation. That's a way to stand out. Color can make you stand out. Logo can make you stand out. But this, now you're ubiquitous. Now you're spending a ton of money. You just have to flood the market with your message because it's not good. I know there's agency people here and up here as well. Small business owner comes in, not all of them, but this is a message that I'm sure we've all heard. Marketing just really hasn't seemed to work. We've gone through a lot of agencies. You're the third or fourth, and right off the bat, you're like, okay, this is not going to be good. And we wasted a ton of money. So they're on the end of their rope. They're at the very end. What should I do or what's happening? So more often than not, what I think is these companies have a brand problem. That leads to a message problem. They don't know themselves. They don't know their customers. They haven't really found their customer. So there exists an opportunity in being different, and there exists risk in being the same. I think that's what we're trying to establish. So always dare to be different. So most businesses, I'll give credit, also shared a TikTok with me. I happen to use this now in a few presentations. It's from W.M. Harper on TikTok. I want to make sure I give credit. And he stated this a bit differently. If you look him up, you can see the whole TikTok is really good. But most businesses, they believe they are different. But if your messaging for the most part is the same as your competitors, this is really interesting. Then you aren't advertising for yourself. You're doing one of two things. You're advertising for your biggest and most well-known competitor, or you're convincing even your best customers to price shop you. And if you think about that, that means every dollar you're spending, you're putting money in your competitors' pockets. because they can't tell the difference between you and they can't tell the difference between company B and they can't tell the difference between company C. All you've reminded them is to go take an action. But don't take it with us necessarily, just go take an action and go do something. So your marketing dollars aren't even being spent building your company unless you're saying something unique and relevant. We can't allow for your messaging to be substantially similar to your competitive set. So how many of you guys have done this in your own company? I've even done it in the part of the work that we do, but one of the first things you do, a client comes in, you check out your competitors, right? What are they saying or what are they doing? We work with a lot of attorneys. Attorneys are some of the worst at doing this, right? Which is all of our competitors, like, oh, okay, this is going away, but it used to be, let's take a photo in front of the law library, right? So all the books will be behind us, and then we'll talk about all the cases we've won, and we'll list like how much experience we have, and at every website we went, all of it was exactly the same, right? The same information said slightly different, and all of them think what they're doing is marketing. All their marketing is the legal profession. That's it. They're not marketing themselves, they're not doing anything to bring customers in their door. They're just talking about the legal profession. So too often we're worried about what those competitors are saying, what the industry is saying, instead of worrying first and foremost about what we offer that they don't. How are we different? So an example, an insurance agency with a brand, much like all the others, spends dollars on a review your policy campaign. Now's the time of year. Why don't we put it on the calendar to review your policy? You know, and we've got, and then after they say this, they've got their logo, they got their name. If you're like me and you're driving down the road, or you're listening, or you watch a video on social media, and you see that, that will trigger something in you, right? That I haven't looked at my policy in a long time. This is a good idea. And then the next day, do you go back to that company or do you just go review your policy or maybe go look up someone else and compare prices? The point is, it's a perfect example of a situation where you are actually reminded to go take an action, but not necessarily follow that brand, which sent you the message. So your brand has to be better. Only market how you are different. Don't market a commodity. So how do we fix the problem? We've defined it, pretty well defined. Like, how would we fix this? What would we do? Number one, document it. Here's an example of just a start of a brand guide that we did for McCurley. It was an exciting project. Inside of this, we have this, a brand position. A brand position is a simple statement that says, this is where we fit in the marketplace. It's very clear. It's written for your internal clients or your internal customers. It's written for your internal people, basically. So as an executive, you say, my brand position, this is where we exist in the market. If we ever go out to market and deliver a product or deliver a service that doesn't fit within this brand position, we have a problem. We have a major problem. Because if we're not a value product, if we're not, you know, if that's not where we are, we're higher priced or we're higher, and then we start to deliver value products, people get really confused. What are you doing? Why are you doing this? It doesn't make sense to them. So position, always state exactly where you fit in the marketplace. Your brand promise, what do you promise to always deliver to those people? That hopefully is an experience or something great that you promise to always deliver, but it always can't be. You know, there's certain brands out there that obviously lend themselves well to certain channels that we have that entertain people, that people want to follow, that people want to engage with. And there's others where it's more difficult, but we still have to work really hard at it. We use what's called reasons to believe. That's a really a backup of your position that is customer facing. Now we bring some emotion into those reasons to believe. Not only should you check on your insurance, you should hire us. And there's 3 reasons why you should work with us. And they should be very convincing reasons. And these reasons to believe you have to be able to hold on to and keep it. Your voice and tone is defined personification. We like to use a personification, maybe compare a brand to a celebrity, maybe use a walk song, maybe use archetypes. All of these can define and personify the brand in some way. Look at branded elements, identity, logo. Those are obviously part of any type of brand as well. And they're important. So what are 3 things that you guys can start today? So if you've heard this and you agree, like, yeah, I agree, like messaging is important. I want to get started. I'm going to give you guys 3 things that you can do now. Just to kind of, or if you work for another brand, you can test. See if you can test with this and go through it and say, can I define what the positioning statement is of our company? And see if you can. So write your positioning statement. Are you a value luxury brand? Are you custom commodity? Are you general or niche? I mean, all of these can come into a positioning statement. All you have to do is Google how to create a positioning statement. There's a great example from HubSpot. It will be the top 3 results. They always are. So search positioning statement HubSpot, click on that result. They'll give you a download. You can go through it, go through that positioning exercise. The second one, begin writing a brand framework. Anybody can write one of these. I think that what is the difference between you writing a brand platform and going to a brand agency like BrandCraft? And I think one of the big differences is we will challenge everything you write down. And often tell you it's not good enough, and often tell you that's, you can do better than that. Until we finally, after long hours and after weeks, we decide that message is perfect. This is actually who you are, and we go to the market with it. So begin writing. I like the book Building Brands, What Really Matters. You can find it. I think I picked one up at the local bookstore, but you might, if not, you can get it from Amazon. I think these slides will go out. I'm not sure the links will work, but the links are in there if you guys get the handout. And then finally, the last one, create sample content and messaging. The reason that we create a brand guide, and the reason that you deliver it, the reason you train your employees on it, the reason you train your internal marketing team on everything that brand guide says, is because you're going to create messaging from it. So if you can imagine that you have a lens, that's what your brand guide is. It's a lens that when you look through it, you can test every campaign that you write, every message that you write. You can test everything to see, does it line up with my brand? Is this what our brand would actually say? Is it relevant? That's what it's for. Like your brand guide will actually not write anything for you. It will educate you on how to write for your brand. Building a story brand. This is a really great book and a great angle about understanding that you're writing for the consumer instead of writing about yourself. You're writing to make them the hero. You're solving their problems. And that's one of the most important things you can do with messaging. And with that, I will turn it over to Laurie. What? What? Oh, no.
Hey, I'm Laurie Rivera. As Torey did mention, my last name did change. It used to be known as Dragon Chuck, but that should have sailed. Laurie Rivera. I work at Spotted Fox as the marketing. I have years and years of experience, but most of my experience actually comes with website design. So I kind of wanted to start with that first. Torey really set me up pretty well. And that like you really need to invest in that brand in your business. But then like, hey, now what? So like he already gave you a lot of lists to do, and I'm gonna give you some more. The first thing you need to do is look at your website or start building. Your website really serves as your digital storefront. It's actually even better than your storefront because it's open longer than you are. It's open 24/7 if you keep the hosting up, right? But it's up there for you. And so making sure that it's accurate at all times is extremely important for you. We advise looking at it monthly. I mean, absolutely, it depends on your industry. If you are changing menus, changing hours, you need to be updating it just as much as you are your own business. But the minimal quarterly, just scrape through your website and make sure it's accurate. Because people are Googling and trying to find you. Also, responsive design. So how many have their cell phone? I see a couple out even. Have the cell phone with them. Responsive design is super important. People are Googling more than ever. And so making sure it's mobile friendly, even pulling it up on multiple devices, not just your own phone. There's bigger phones, smaller phones. So really testing out your website, and making sure that it's very responsive. Also, when I say responsive, that also means load time. So if it's taken forever, you need to look into that. There's a multitude of reasons why it could be loading slow. That is causing people to be like, maybe I'll go look at the next business, see what they have to offer. So ongoing testing also, you want to see your website through multiple eyes. You might think what's best for your site, but it's really important to understand maybe what your customer thinks of it, a friend, a colleague. So just asking like, hey, can you like come through my website, maybe test out my forums and give me some advice or some tips, feedback is super valuable to you. Even like asking for surveys. Again, you have to kind of apply it to your industry and how people are using your website, but definitely like thinking about testing it every now and then just to keep it optimized is super helpful and important. People need to find information quickly. I don't know about you, but I Google things, a lot of things, and I Google them quickly. And when I hit a site, I'm on it for maybe a minute. And actually that's the average time people spend on sites. It's actually less than minutes, 52 seconds on average. So if people jump on your site and they can't find your phone number, they can't find out what you're actually doing, you're losing opportunity for business. So definitely consider like, can you apply into your business, your agency, your brand? Like, what is my consumer trying to get, and putting it in the front? You might want to think like, oh, maybe I want them to scroll down to find it. Someone that spend more time on my website. Actually, that might be deterring them from staying on your website. So keep that in mind. Also, keep it branded. As Torey said, like, put that unique value proposition front and forward. No one wants to see generic. We've all seen what stock photos look like. We know what they look like. People want to honestly see the personalities behind your business. They want to see that it is local. So maybe some local photography even, with people working, your staff and headshots, and then freshen it up quarterly. Websites should not just be like a once a year chore. They should be an ongoing, upkeep, just like your real storefront. Like, you need to clean the house too in your website. So now you actually have to be searchable. So you have this beautiful website, but how do you get people to it? The best and easy free tool is Google Business Profile. It was recently changed from Google My Business. If that's what you've heard before, Google My Business. It's now Google Business Profile. They revamped it. They also added some new features, and it actually allows you, the features allow you to actually make updates to your Google Business Profile much easier. So now you just, if you own your Google Business Profile, if you just Google your own business, it'll pop up and it allows you to like instantly make updates to it. That's one of the features that it rolled out. So Google did this because they obviously want to have people Googling your business, and they want to show that it's the best search provider. So it's always been maintaining and updating these tools. If you also recall, they also had a Google My Business app. That's no longer there. It's just you Google yourself and you start making updates to your Google Business Profile. And so it's super important to, again, like I said with the website, it's not just a one and done. You don't just set up your Google Business Profile and hope that people are Googling, finding it, and moving on. You should be updating your local business profile at least quarterly. Again, looking through it for accurate information. Are your hours up to date? We always encourage getting reviews. I don't know how many people are looking at those, how many times you look at those Google reviews, but it's super important in making a decision. So getting more Google business reviews, and then also updating your guys' photos on your Google Business Profile. That is not just something for the user, but Google sees that and sees that you're actively updating your profile, and it'll actually show your profile over other competitors. So just put that on your to-do list to update at least quarterly. It's definitely like managing a social media profile, keeping all that all that information accurate, and making sure that you're putting your best foot forward like you do on your social media. So again, like updating those photos. You can also do calls and call tracking. That's a great feature of Google Business Profile. If you didn't know though, you can actually track those phone calls. So you can actually see what kind of traffic you're getting through calls from Google Business Profile. So kind of gives you some idea of how people are interacting with your brand and how often you're getting calls directly through Google. Accurate directory listing. So I said a lot of Google, but Google's not the only thing out there. There's Apple Maps, Bing, Places, Waze. There's also Alexa and other like voice searchability platforms. But all of these have their own way of like being updated with your brand information, your business information. So aside from Googling yourself, looking at all the other platforms out there, and if you're even on their directory, if all that information is accurate, it does take some time, but that consistency can just lend itself to being more searchable, being able to be found online, and sending traffic to your website. And then SEO, I just want to touch on SEO a little bit. SEO can get nitty gritty, can get a little nerdy, a little technical. So what I always say to people that don't want to invest in SEO, kind of just want to do it themselves as a business owner, is just constantly update your site. If you're, like I keep beating a dead horse, you just make your website and then don't take care of it, Google will see as like, oh, well, you know, maybe the website's not being used as much. Like, we don't want to send people there. We want to send them to a brand new website. But you need to show Google like you're active, you're maintaining a presence in this digital world. So if it sees that it's being updated, Google will keep using it in its search results. And then increase your digital footprint overall. So you have your site, you maybe have like your list of services on it, your contact page, but adding even more pages to it will help show Google like that you're expanding as a business, that you're an expert in your business because you have all this information about it. So definitely continually update your website, but also add new pages to it. When I get nervous, I talk too fast. So. Then now you have this brand voice. Let's hear it on social media. Man, social media. So Facebook and Instagram are our bread and butter here in the Tri-Cities. A lot of people, majority of people are on there. You have like some Twitter users now. You hear about Threads, TikTok, or LinkedIn as well for B2B. But I really push brands to just like start with Facebook and Instagram and really get your like foot in the game. Be consistent on social media before you start putting your feelers out for other social media platforms. So Facebook and Instagram, super familiar, but this is a way to build your brand awareness. The more you post, the more likely it is to be pushed out to other people outside your network. And then you're able to reach a larger audience. So hopefully, as you're starting to post more content about your business, you're encouraging your staff to maybe share those posts to get out to a wider audience, and then soon they're subscribed or following your page, and the audience keeps growing. Facebook is also great, and Instagram of course, for direct messaging people, direct communication with customers. I see we manage a lot of social media accounts at social media at Spotify, and we see a lot of interaction between the brand and customers just through messages. So if you're not checking your messages, again, if you just set up your Facebook and never use it, you're missing out on opportunity to connect with your audience. So it's also, Facebook's a great way to showcase products and services. It's free advertising at the end of the day, as it's a free platform to everyone. So obviously you don't want to bombard people with your products and services every day. So that shouldn't be the bread and butter of what you post, but you can always sprinkle it in along with other content, such as celebrating staff birthdays, national holidays, providing educational posts out to your audience. But it definitely does help and lend itself to brand awareness and your brand development. With social media, you also get great local community engagement. I have a lot of fun on Instagram, connecting with local businesses and engaging with them, and so does a lot of other people here in the Tri-Cities. So if you're putting your brand out there and you start getting engagement, definitely follow up and respond to that engagement, because people are likely to then continue commenting if they see that your account is actually active and not just auto posting. And it's also good to, as a business, post to other businesses, Facebook's posts or Instagram posts. So like if you know that a local event's coming up, jumping on and commenting on there, showing that you're active. It's a good way to get a follow, hopefully, if they see you follow and comment. So that just helps with growing your accounts. Customer reviews and recommendations. I don't know how many of you have like recommended a business on Facebook and tagged them, but just being on there and having that opportunity is great for your business. So if you're doing a good job and, you know, friends are talking and asking for a recommendation, your business could be tagged. That's instant exposure for you. You're doing a great job. And then Facebook allows for customer reviews. So you can get those and then reshare them and like provide more content. Or also just taking your Google business profile reviews and reposting them on Facebook, showing social proof. Another post idea. Kind of as I said earlier, like with people sharing and providing recommendations, social media is a great word of mouth marketing tool. So, I mean, that's where a lot of people are socializing, right, on social media. And so that's where you're going to kind of gain some traction in word of mouth marketing, which is free marketing if you're doing it right. Market your brand. So I just talked about some free or cheap tools. It's easy to come in with a website nowadays. The barrier to entry to producing a website's lower than it used to be when we were coding them all back then. Facebook and Instagram are free to use. Your local business profile is free to use. Now we're going to talk a little bit about paid advertising. You got to pay to play, as we like to say it. And the two very popular options here in the Tri-Cities, there are a lot of other avenues. I'm going to touch on Meta ads and Google ads. So if you feel like you're not getting enough leads organically from your website and word of mouth, you may want to start investing in online advertising to get in front of more people. So then that lends itself to Facebook. Now the rebrand to Meta advertising. If done correctly, you're actually able to really leverage your marketing budget and really optimize it through ad delivery. And so Facebook has a lot of great tools in its ad profile and its ad management profile. One thing to consider is its robust targeting options. You can target down to a 5-mile radius with people that are interested in things that you want them to be interested in, maybe have certain behaviors, geo-target locations, and more. So obviously you don't want to get too nitty-gritty because it's hard for Facebook to find those exact people because they might be talking about a unique one. But it's definitely good in honing in some of your ideal future customers and delivering ads specifically for them. Then you can also retarget to your website visitors or people interacting with your social media content. That's called the Facebook Pixel. You set it up and it tracks users or visitors, and you can retarget them with ads. So on Facebook, how many people are actually like shopping on Facebook? So I always like to recommend incentivized marketing on Facebook. I am on Facebook or Instagram. Be social, I'm not looking to buy anything. So you really have to incentivize that click. Doesn't need to be a crazy incentivization. Like I say, you don't have to give 75% off, but something as small as 25% off or even 15% off will help generate a click from someone if it's from a local business near them that they may buy from already. So keep that in mind when you're putting Facebook advertising out there. Again, if you're really in the market for utilizing your ad budget and trying to get leads. Then briefly, I'm going to talk about Google Ads before I turn it over to Jerrod. Some stats I found interesting is 46% of all Google searches are looking for local information. And then 72% of local searches will visit a business within 5 miles of them. So people are Googling, trying to find you. Why not put that extra step to put some ad dollars out there to get in front of them? There's lots of ways to advertise on Google. There's search ads, display ads, shopping, video. Google actually is a part of the YouTube. That's also where you set up your YouTube ads. And there's these things called local service ads, which many small businesses are service-based. So Google has made specialty ad types, has made the specialty ad type for service industries that can improve the matching experience for both the advertiser and searcher. So those are some ads. You have to do a little bit more to set up those. But if you're service-based and really looking for leads, you actually only get charged for qualified leads. So a great way to optimize your ad budget. I'm gonna turn it over to Jerrod. I've spent the line, and he's gonna talk to you about the nitty-gritty analytics.
Right, I have the exciting task of talking about data. So buckle up. It's gonna be fun. My name is Jerrod Lindblom. I started in auto sales, like you said, and then moved to the west side of the state and got into land development prior to the fun real estate market crash of 08, and moved back home and back in the car business and decided I wanted to be in marketing. So learned radio, learned TV, and kind of stumbled into digital and was like, I really like this part. I'll just keep doing that. So we just had a friend of mine who was my business partner, Eric, and him and I met for something completely opposite. And the next day we were like, hey, you want to start a company? So here we are. The thing that data's incredible. It basically, to me, it's like art. It paints a picture, right? You can tell the story of what happened if you know the right places to look for data, right? So the number one question whenever I meet with somebody and talking about marketing is, okay, for this campaign, what's your desired outcome? Or if you ever heard KPI, key performance indicator, what's your desired outcome from this, right? Because before we decide who to go and how to target them and all of that, we need to know what you're wanting to get out of this. So is it more phone calls? Is it more people following you on social media? Is it to gain better top of mind awareness? Is it to steal market share from a competitor? I mean, there's a lot of different things that can be around. The important part is understanding where you want to end up before you start. That really allows for you to be able to pick the platforms. Again, going back to Google Ads, for instance, Google Ads are going to drive clicks from the app, and that's great traffic, and that's people that are looking for what it is that you. That's essentially the quickest way to turn money into money. It's usually the initial starting point that you can go after people that are looking for what you do. It's a little bit more expensive, and if you're also looking to gain customers organically, you're not going to get it from that. So things like Facebook, where you can drive traffic and get organic top of mind awareness because the impressions are cheaper. So there's just a lot of things to think about before you're even going to end up on a platform. You really want to decide where you're going. Before you decide where you're going to want to know what you want out of it. That's the next part, is the KPI. What does a successful campaign mean to you? So is it, I have a lot of people who I chat with and go, okay, what are you looking for out of this? More calls or more business, but what does more business mean? A lot of people, they kind of go off of the, I spend $5 or spend $1 to make $5 in marketing. That's kind of a rule of thumb. You might want to look at that and go, okay, here's how much I'd like to invest. And I want to make this much money out of it. Okay, so what is my, if I have more than one service, which service is the most profitable? which service do I have? Maybe a team member that's not busy enough and I need to get them busier. You start to think through a lot of those things and you can start to develop a roadmap of, okay, I have this much I want to invest. I have this much I want to make out of it. And let's say you're a plumber. Okay, then that means if I make $50 a call, then I need to have this many calls come out of that campaign. So now you know what you're shooting for. You know, okay, this is gonna be successful by doing these steps. That's really important before you start getting into the implementation part, coming up with your message, coming up with all that. You're gonna end up and go, okay, I'm gonna go with that platform. I'm gonna do these things. So then you've built your creative, you've used your brand. You're driving into your website, app, whatever it is. Then you get into okay, did this work? Was it successful? And there are so many layers to that question that it's really interesting to start thinking through. Again, your success is the end goal, right? This many calls, this many. But you're able to look at it and go, okay, I came up with this message and I decided on this audience using the audience targets that she talked about in Facebook and Meta and Instagram, TikTok. Everybody has them. Okay, this message, did it land with that demo? Okay, so you can start getting into things like what you start going into things that you can track. So you can track clicks, right? That's kind of the easier upper level things. Okay, I got this many clicks. It cost me this much for every one of my clicks. And 1% of the people that saw the ad clicked. Okay. Those might be industry things where you're looking at that going like, okay, if the national average is this much per click, I was under that. It was successful. The national average for engagement or click-through rate was this percentage. I was above that. Okay, that was successful. The hard part, you then have to go from the platform to your Google Analytics, and you have to look at things like what used to be bounce rate when it was old Google Analytics, and now it's GA4, so it's engagement rate. Were they engaged? Did they stay on my website, or did they click and then immediately leave? Okay, that tells me that whatever message that I got in front of that audience didn't resonate because they clicked thinking they were going to get something else. So you start to think through not only how much how well it performed on the platform, but how well it performed on your website. So you're going to track things like engagement rate, like I just talked about. Your time on site, she said, average is 52 seconds. That's industry, that's people that chose to go there organically or direct, or click on an ad and they go there. Those people usually spend less time because they didn't decide to go there on their own. So you start to look at things and go, okay, I'm comfortable with them spending this much time on my website, but if it's less, I'm going to look at adjusting things like your message or your targets, or that maybe that campaign just didn't land at all, but you can use data to be able to make adjustments as you go. You should be looking at data regularly, like for us, especially me who lives kind of in data all the time. For some weird reason like it. It could be daily, but you'll want every couple of days to go on there and look, okay, what's happening now? Is the ad slowing down? Is my traction slowing down? Should I make some adjustments? Making little adjustments help kind of get you back. Essentially, Meta has this thing where they quote unquote your ad gets fatigued, where they basically don't put it in front of as many people. If you can go through and make adjustments on it, you stay in their algorithm, right? Because all you're trying to do is trick the algorithm most of the time anyways. So you'll want to be checking on things like, hey, this week my cost per click is double. Well, why is that? Well, what happened? How can I make that adjustment? Do I need to change the age that I'm sending it to? Do I need to change their information, the details, like a target could be plumbers, you might have homeowner, but what about people that watch HD TV? Like, that might be another thing that you add on to test some of those audiences. One of the really important thing too is tracking calls. I regularly hear, oh yeah, so-and-so who answers the phone asks. But you really need to go a next step, and you need to look at tracking it, listening to the calls, understanding what are they saying when you call, right? What's the reason why you didn't get that job or that service? Why didn't you book that? Why didn't they buy that thing? A lot of times the calls will tell you. The how to track portion, we end up spending a lot of time, in the past, before Google switched to GA4, there was analytics, and you had to go in and you had to build Google Tag Manager, and you had to set up all your events and track it. GA4's done away with a lot of that. You still have to do that for some events. But you want to go on there and you want to set up all your events that you're going to want to track. So again, calls, maybe it's videos that you have on your site. You want to see how many people watch the video. You want to see, are they scrolling all the way down? Are they, I mean, there's a million things that you can track using GA4. There's a thing called a UTM code, which there's a bunch of free services. We use the one that Google has. It allows for you to put on your URL where you're going to send them to. It allows for you to put a code that Google Analytics picks up and says, this click was from Facebook. So when you're looking at your analytics, you can see where it came from and what campaign it came from. You're going to use things like I said, Google Tag Manager. We use CallRail, but there's a lot of call tracking services out there. And then there's also a thing called a dynamic number insertion, a DNI, which essentially they change the number on your website based on whatever ad they clicked in. So you're actually able to tell this call came from a Facebook ad. This call came from Google My Business or Google Profile Manager. This call came organically. This call came direct. And you're actually able to tell granularly, where did all of my calls come from? That part's super helpful. And it's also helpful if you're not the one answering the phone. It's also really helpful to hear the calls and go, oh, I thought so-and-so knew this about our company, but here's a training opportunity that I have that I can teach someone how to answer a phone better. And you can turn some of the ad dollars that you've spent into actual revenue. The engagement rate, like we talked about, you're able to see also where your traffic's coming from. We've seen for some clients when the switch over to GA4 that they had direct traffic that went down quite a bit, and it's Google through GA4 is actually working on getting rid of bot traffic, so it actually doesn't count. We had to learn that the hard way because we had a couple of panic clients call, and Google's doing their job, but it allows for you to essentially, maybe you want to compare month over month. So I want to go, okay, how many people found me organically? How many people found me direct? How many people found me from Facebook? Compare it to the last month, compared to the same month the year before. The really cool thing, we have a hard time kind of tracking things like TV and radio ads because there's no click, right? So there's no way to digitally track it. So you just have to rely on people to answer the phone and hope that they give you the right information. The really cool thing, if you spend time in Google Analytics GA4, or spend time on your Google profile, you can actually see how many people came to you organically. So they search for what you do, or they search you by name, and you can see if that's up or down based on when you ran a TV campaign or a radio campaign versus not. And those are some of the indicators where you go, oh, like there's a branded search thing on the Google business profile where you can actually see did people look me up by name more or less during this radio or TV campaign? So we have a lot of people that go, gosh, I don't know how this worked, or if it worked. We're able to look and go, here, people are looking you up by name more than they ever had before. This worked. Or you can look at things like, I don't know if this TV station versus this TV station is better, or this radio versus that radio. You can test it on different runs and you can tell which one works better or not in driving searches, phone calls, things like that. So there's a lot to go, there's a lot of rabbit holes you can go down with data, but it's really important to, again, figure out what your KPI is, track from the platform to your website. And if you're able to look at those things, you can deem a successful campaign or not. That's it.
Right, question and answer time. So if you're here in the room, you can either raise your hand or you can text me if you want to stay anonymous, and I'll curate those. If you're online on Zoom, go ahead and type your question in. Let me start with one from Zoom. Experts of Twitter and Threads in Tri-Cities. The person was typing in saying it's just crashing and burning. Do you recommend still pursuing Twitter in our area?
I mean, I could start, we never used Twitter before, so it's just not a platform that we tend to use for advertising. We have tested it at times. It would just have to be the right consumer. We also wouldn't say that we wouldn't use it. But the question is more about whether it's crashing and burning. I don't know, like maybe it is. And you guys might know more. Does Threads open their advertising platform yet?
They haven't.
Yeah, I don't think they have. So you can't advertise on Threads currently. Probably a good move on their behalf. To not do that for a while. I know that Threads active user base is dropping pretty dramatically right now. So we'll see how it all pans out.
I can speak to from an ad perspective from Twitter. We had a handful of clients that were using Twitter for ads. And then last summer was absolutely crushing it. And then about a month after Elon bought it, the cost per click went up 10 times and it never went back. And so we failed to pull all of our clients. And it was interesting, the cost per click last summer for Twitter was the lowest of any of our platforms by a lot. And so my immediate thought, because I'm a skeptic, I was like, it's gotta be fake traffic. So then I go to Google Analytics, this is back in the good old UA days. And I hopped in and it was very real traffic. They actually spent more time on site than Facebook. And it blew me away. It was wonderful. And then it wasn't.
How do you guys go about the Nextdoor app? I know it's kind of a newer app, but as far as targeting local clients and customers, have you guys heard good things?
I've used the app. Have you guys used it for advertising on Nextdoor?
I haven't used it for advertising, but I have a couple of clients and other business owner friends who have done it on their own. And it's been a really hit or miss reaction. And I haven't been able to, I like to discover patterns, right? I haven't been able to figure out if it's like by industry, right? Oh, this industry works, that industry doesn't. There's no rhyme or reason. It either just works or it doesn't. And it's a complete coin flip.
Yeah, I would think, like knowing the app, that you would find a lot of what I would call value buyers in those apps.
Yeah.
Those that are shopping for price, so they already had 3 recommendations, but I'll go to the Nextdoor app and see if someone on there will do it for half, right? So I think if you're a business that's just getting started, you have no customers, you want to use any platform you can, maybe use it. I think as you mature, you'll probably outgrow that type of scenario.
Torey, this one's for you. Do you recommend updating your brand guide? And if so, how often?
We like to say that you go out to the market with your brand and you gain awareness. So people will come and say, in fact, we get in the marketing, it's the way everyone is, right? So they'll come in and say, I want to run some ads and get some leads. That's what I want. I want you to make the phone ring, I want, I want more revenue, I want this, and then someone talked about it, and we have to break that down and say, okay, how do we do that realistically, like that, come on. Like, let's get a little bit more specific than just that. But really what you need to do is start with brand, go through brand awareness, make sure they're comfortable with you, make sure they know you, then start working on leads and lead generation. And then from there, I think you can start to SWOT, meaning you're gonna find the strengths and weaknesses, opportunities and threats that are out there in the marketplace. And then let's say this is a couple or 3 years after you brought it out to market. Now you might want to go update. Now you might look at it and say, I'm not sure we're positioned the way we should be anymore. It was great where we started. But you know, your competition drives some of this. And so, yeah, at times you might have to go back and update it. Just like a person, we change as a brand. We probably don't change a ton, like our core of who we are stays the same. But there's things that change about us. And so I think it's minor changes. I'm also not referencing the look, like the logo when we're talking about this. I'm mainly talking about messaging, like the look itself. I mean, you guys know this, like major brands. I mean, a decade's a pretty good run, I would say, for a logo, for a mark. You're doing pretty good if you can get through a decade. Some go much further than that. Some rebrand after 5 years when it comes to visual design.
So I work for a small nonprofit in town and our demo is primarily older. And so I'm wondering if that demographic is accessible through digital. And then if there is a different approach from the way a nonprofit would approach digital advertising versus a for-profit business.
Question, when you say older, what age group are you talking about?
We're a mentoring organization, so most of our mentors tend to be 40 and up.
Okay. We found, when it comes to targeting that age demo and you want to do it digitally, Facebook is a really great, I mean, the average age of Facebook's like 39 now. And so, that is a really good place digitally to go. And would you approach it differently as a nonprofit versus a profit? Yes and no. Yes, in your messaging is going to be much different than it's going to be almost all, at least from my perspective, almost all emotion. Whereas some of the other ones you might be advertising a sale or whatever. And then, but you're targeting, you're still going to think, okay, think about 10 maybe mentors in the group and just what commonalities do they have, right? Do they like dogs? Are they avid shoppers? Do they always talk about watching HGTV or Fox News or whatever? I mean, think about that you would still target that the same way, but your messaging, and Torey can probably speak more to the branding part than I did, but your messaging, I would imagine, would have to be different.
Yeah, nonprofits is, I mean, you advertise, I believe you advertise everything the same. Everyone's got a customer, everyone's looking for something. The only thing with nonprofits, I would say, is sometimes on the brand, you have one messaging that goes to your consumer, you decide who that is, and you have another messaging that goes to your fundraising group. So not all nonprofits make money through selling something or they're offering a service. They actually survive by their donations.
Right.
In that case, your brand is to them. What are you providing them? Like, how do you provide a nonprofit? Someone that donates to you, they get an emotional feeling from donating. They're handing over money for a reason, the same reason you hand over money for a car. Same thing, they're handing over money, and to them, it makes them feel really good. They're happy they donated that. They want to know that they did it for the right reason, that you're solving a problem for them. So you also differentiate those two. Going out and marketing to anybody, just finding the platform they're in. Facebook groups are another option. A lot of times people with like-minded interests end up in Facebook groups, and you can also get organic and spam a Facebook group and see how long you last too, but so just advertising, yeah, just find the platform. You know, it's a tough question because I think the trick in digital marketing is always when someone comes to us, and you have someone ask us a question, where should we find it? We don't know. We don't know where your audience is. Like, you pay us to find them. That's what that's why you pay us. Let's go figure out where your audience is. When we find them, then we can start really converting where they are. But I think there's a little bit of an a thing where people think when they walk in and talk to an agency, that we know where everyone sits. Like, I don't know where all the people are that buy, like, you know, certain products, but we certainly have to try and go find them if someone hires us.
Yeah, I was gonna echo the Facebook and Facebook groups. They're really great.
Resources for learning about SEO and website building. Do you have any recommendations? Books, places to research online?
For website design, YouTube University is amazing. There's lots of great free or cheaper platforms like Squarespace, Wix. And if you're not willing to invest into a website design right now and you want to just do it yourself. And so it kind of depends on where you're at and what you feel comfortable with. But I love Squarespace for like beginner entry level, and then start feeling comfortable with that and looking at what other people are using. Maybe put your feelers out in, again, Facebook groups or places where other people are building websites and asking, and then learning about those builders on YouTube.
What was the other part of that question?
SEO, how to learn about it, get better at it.
Man. Just like nerd out for like 5 years. I mean, that one is so hard. I mean, I would say the easiest thing is to write great content. If you write great content, your SEO will magically be great. If you write great content, post it, but you still have competition. But man, there are specialties within the SEO industry. Those that do backlinking, those that do content creation, those that do on-site SEO, make sure everything's in order. And I would say all of us probably have skill sets in all of those things, but we're not maybe experts on all of them. But yeah, SEO it's a monster, but I think creating great content is step one.
Jessica?
We're from Bulldog Signs and Graphics, so I would say we probably prefer physical marketing over, but digital marketing is good too. I was wondering, you guys were talking about defining successes of campaigns and desired outcomes, specifically users. I will admit that I have never looked at our Google performance data. Like, we get the email like every day, and I am like, we're just gonna categorize that over here. And but that I definitely will be looking into it, and I think we've got a good blank slate at this point. But I'm wondering, is there like a good time frame of campaigns, or like when do you decide to be like, ditch that campaign and be like, this one's just not working for us, I'm gonna move on to something else? Like, what's a good time frame of looking, especially at the data?
So couple of things, what we usually try to go, we're watching it, and by day 3, and if let's say our cost per click is double what we're comfortable with, or our time on site is much under what it should be, for any of those indicators. Usually by the 3rd day, we're going and we're making an adjustment in the campaign. So what we do is we go through a checklist of, okay, is it my audience? Because the audience is the easiest thing to change, right? So is it my targets? Okay, well, let's think it through. Again, I'm gonna go back to plumbing because I started there. Okay, I got homeowners, I got this, I got that. What other things could I add? Or what thing is in here that shouldn't be? I got maybe excited about an audience and tried a new one that didn't work. So make that adjustment and then run it in for another 48 hours and see how it performs. And then we look at the messaging if it's still not going well. So we look at it and go, is our call to action right? So do we have the right percentage off? Is it the right wording, whatever it is? So we kind of, as a team, get together and look at it. And then we make those adjustments, run it for 2 more days. And after that, scrap it, doing another one. That's what we do. We're in it all the time, so it might be a little bit easier to get to that endpoint, but I would say, like, as if it were my company and I didn't do this all the time, I'd look at probably a 10 day mark, and if it's just not working, then try to make some of those adjustments if you can. If not, scrap it and go with a different.
No, that's perfect for my ADHD. I love it.
Yeah, Jerrod's really trying to utilize that ad spend budget by doing that. And he's definitely allowing or helping that customer like really stretch their advertising dollars by doing that. So it's really, you're looking for leads and you're not seeing an increase in calls or increased website traffic, you better start looking at your ad, especially if you're making that investment.
The only counter I have to that is everyone here is probably using the agency platforms and all of these platforms we're advertising on. We set a lot of specifics about how we're advertising. Google has the option for you to add and make it really easy, and they're using AI and kind of a black box. We don't know what they're doing. Those don't learn for days at a time. So you'll start something and it will tell you like for 24 hours, I'm learning, I'm trying to figure it out. So I don't know, just know that we're talking about a different platform maybe than you would just be putting ads into. So you might be using the same platform as us, but if you're using Google's automatic, like, hey, easy ad creator, there's something else going on there that.
Takes a little more time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah.
I wasn't referring to Google at all. Google's its own beast. That's a totally different conversation. But on things like Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, stuff like that, yeah, good point.
So kind of digital illiterate here. When you say cost per clicks, what do you mean by that?
How much it costs you to get someone to click from the ad to your website? Or wherever you're pushing them, if you're pushing them to a landing page or an app or whatever.
So if you're spending an X amount of money, you're probably expecting a certain amount of clicks.
Correct, yeah,
Okay.
yep,
And all the platforms allow for really easy, like, it gives you all the data there, so you'll know how much it'll tell you.
yeah, you don't have to manually figure it out, that would be long.
Yeah.
What do you do about negative comments on social media? Do you respond to people's negative opinions?
Yeah, if you don't, somebody's going to. I think it's always better to be a part of the conversation. I don't think anybody expects. There's no person probably in this room that expects a business to be, or a person to be perfect. So oftentimes people that are mad will just show how crazy they are and just let them keep going. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that that's an expected thing. There's gonna be people upset, so just respond. I think that try not to ignore it, like show that you care and that you wanna make it better. But also don't give it so much oxygen that it takes over the platform either.
Also, to piggyback on that, I would avoid responding negatively or trying to justify anything that you like, because it doesn't matter, even if you're right, you're still gonna look like the jerk. So whatever it is, and you just have to kind of take it if they put it out there. It just is what it is. Don't respond negatively. It usually has a bad impact, or sorry, don't respond to the negativity with justification. That'll get you in trouble.
When do you recommend using YouTube like organically for a brand?
All part, I think. Is it for your brand?
Yeah,
The general question.
it's kind of our brand. So currently we have our channel up and running, and the paid ads that we are putting out, we're also just kind of dumping on our channel. They're not getting a lot of views, but it's really just ad after ad. So I'm trying to figure out how much energy do we put in for YouTube through our channel, because we are not getting paid ads, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, so content on YouTube is almost like you have a website, like there's SEO involved with YouTube, there's digital marketing involved with YouTube. So you could run digital ads on Google that take you to YouTube. I mean, you can do so many different things to try and get traffic. Organically, it's tough. I mean, there's so much competition on YouTube. So I think that use your social channels to get people there. Number one, give views. Number one, just make sure you use the platform. I would say any platform, use it natively. Typically, I mean, right now, YouTube sees a lot of really good strength in education and thought leadership. entertainment, probably not so much, although there is still some of that left, but a lot of that's moved to TikTok and short form. I think YouTube, if you have a message that needs to be 3, 4, 5, 15 minutes long, like that's YouTube. People's attention spans, man, is getting really short though, so I think, using TikTok to jump people to longer form content is a good for now, but. Yeah, it's tough, so. And it's gaining attention, right? So I think I'm still gonna say the same thing. Great content always finds a good audience. So, just make sure that it's great. If I can find 1,000 other videos that say the same thing as yours, that have already been in the algorithm now for like 2 years, like how do you expect yours to rank? Like, why would it? And it won't unless it's different. That's how it's gonna rank. So, yeah, I think the messaging that I did earlier today, that's what it's for. Do something different, say something different, have an opinion. And, yeah, an educator. Enlighten somebody.
AI is a hot topic right now. What is the example of the way to use it efficiently?
So it's really interesting. So because everybody gets really excited about ChatGPT, myself sort of included. I was much more excited early on than I am now. Because what's gonna happen when essentially they're already working on this, people are like from an SC, like initially you come out of that, I'm gonna create content using ChatGPT, and that's what I'm gonna put on my website, knock websites out faster and rank and check all the boxes for Google SEO, right? But they're obviously now building AI to combat the AI, so you're gonna be negatively impacted. And to Torey's point, it's not really great content, at least from what I've seen from it. The only way that I've seen people efficiently be able to use it and get a decent product is use it as a like starting point. I'm gonna talk about this particular topic. I don't know how to start. Okay, ChatGPT, give me 10 ideas. And then I can take that and make my good content from at least those ideas. That's how I would use it efficiently.
Yeah, I agree. It's a great starting point, a great way to just kind of pull different ideas, things that you're not thinking about. That's obviously out there on the internet that the AI is picking up and just kind of throwing back at you as an idea. So, but I wouldn't use it ongoing. I then take it and then how does this apply to me? How does it apply to my marketing? However you're using it, and work with it from there.
I read something the other day that said that AI was now being used to write fake reviews for businesses.
So we should use it to write good reviews.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how that goes.
Torey Kelly recommended AAFtry.com. You know what that is?
I think Kelly's trying to put a plug in for an event. There's a video series event for the AAF there, Kelly. I said it.
One more question?
I wanted to say on the ChatGPT thing, like, the one thing I found a use for it on was generating new ideas for headlines. I had it come up with like 20 ideas for me, and out of those, I had one that I liked the looks of, and even then I changed it a little bit.
Yeah.
Threw it onto Google to test it alongside the other ones. It did okay. But it was cool for coming up with some new ideas when I was stuck on new ones.
Yep, when you can't bounce ideas off of someone, bounce off of ChatGPT.
All right, let's thank our experts for donating their time and expertise. And their information is, as you saw on there, and you could of course hit them up afterwards if you would like to have, I'm sure they would love to have your business, let's just say. So please consider them. Their slides are going to be emailed to you. If you're wondering about that, whether you're again on Zoom today or live, as long as we know that you are here, we'll get that to you. And a video of today will be placed on YouTube as well. We also want to thank STCU again for sponsoring Ask the Experts, making it free to participate. And Laurie, I think you brought a door prize today.
Yes.
What did you bring?
A $50 gift card to Peacock.
Ooh, $50 to Peacock Coffee in the Parkway. All right.
Anyone else?
Business card.
Yeah.
Hurry, get it. The first copy. Yes, okay. There we go. Let's go with Jessica from Heartlinks.
All right.
Thank you, Laurie and Fox Digital for bringing that today. Would you please do us a favor and fill out the survey? If you're here in person, you've got a blank survey that you can fill out, just flip it over and leave it here at the end. There is a QR code. If you want to take that digitally, if you're on Zoom today. And we want to make these extremely valuable. It's our best attendance yet at one of these. So hopefully you'll continue to keep coming back. And I left the two also on the back by the cookies on just business visibility checklist, all the things that you could put your logo on or like, have we tried this? Have we tried this? Have we tried this? I did it with the mastermind group. We came up with like 30 things. So grab one of those on your way out the door for your business team. Our next Ask the Experts is always on the fourth Tuesday of the month from 3 to 4:30. And our next one is on August 22nd. Probably got a flyer as you came in. It is on designing a culture that attracts and retains employees, something we're all wrestling with these days. We got 4 experts to come in to chat about that. So please be with us again. You can either come live or on Zoom, and we hope that you will join us again. So again, thank you for being here today, and may your business continue to prosper in 2023.